I have no script, but I have so much energy to finally tell you about Tokyo. And hi there, it's Liz. I just came back from my long 3-week trip to Japan. And the first week I spent in Tokyo. This video is following quite complex map of Tokyo that consists of multiple towns and villages. I will roughly walk you through the districts we've been to, my main highlights, my main disappointments. This was my first ever trip to Asia and the longest flight in my life. It took a bit longer than 13 hours to fly from London to Tokyo. There was no perfect schedule for my trip. In many cases, I just popped into some places that I liked on the street. So you can use these districts or cities as building blocks for your own itinerary. The first city, Taitoku, and district, Asakusa. Our plane arrived at 7 a.m. and the idea was to visit one of the busiest and most popular places in Tokyo before other crowds arrive. But we came to Asakusa and Sansoji Temple around 9:30 a.m. and the crowds were already there. It was just so insanely busy. It was impossible to enjoy temples, architecture, design. I'm not even talking about connecting to something higher than ourselves, something spiritual. And these were the first impressions of Japan. Very chaotic. What is happening? What are these shops? Should I buy something? Oh, this looks cute. Can I pay by card? Should I get some cash? Oh, look, some vending machines. Here are some incense, and here people are making some wishes. Here they're washing hands. Should I jump into that? It was all very blurry in my head, especially after sleeping maybe for 2 hours. We arrived a week after all blossoms were done, but a few cherry and sakura trees here and there still had some flowers on, and these were definitely centers of attention to get the Instagram perfect picture of Japan. So after the temple and market area, with no better plan, we just decided to walk. And on one hand, it all looked like anime-perfect villages with multiple cables flowing in the air, with these cute small cars and trucks that looked like they're squished. But on the other, I was wondering, where is this big bustling city with skyscrapers? Where is this Tokyo? I definitely saw in videos and pictures, and I was still quite confused with location. In my mind, I was quite central if we look at the overall map of Tokyo, so seeing such a calm life was unexpected. And the next district in Taitoku that we got to was Ueno, with the main site, Ueno Park. It was so big and nice. I guess the whale at the entrance is a perfect representation of this park. And it seemed like some festival was going on, probably some sake festival, but I'm not sure. I definitely wasn't in a drinking mood in the middle of the day with this jet lag. At my first visit, I was just so exhausted by this point. My feet were so tired. I couldn't care less about this park and any events going on. But we came back later for peonies festival exhibition display. Quite a big part of the Ueno Park was taken for this peony garden. So many new colors and shapes and shades. Some of them I saw first time in my life, and in general, for me, peonies associate with August because that's when they blossom in Belarus. So seeing them in April was pretty weird. And the pro tip, how to find the most authentic, real Japanese experience, is to follow Japanese grandmas. They just had the time of their lives in this peonies garden, taking picture of every flower, every corner, every small umbrella. And who am I to judge? I did the same. So in 2 sentences, definitely recommend visiting Taitoku. Asakusa, at your own risk, be prepared for the crowds. Ueno Park, definitely a must go. Chuoku, 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 Chuoku. Up next, Ginza. The central area that you can spend days and weeks exploring on its own. And that's exactly the Tokyo I had in my imagination. All these skyscrapers, luxury shopping, busy, bustling restaurants, malls, roads. I didn't have many shops on my list. I definitely wanted to go to Shiseido, and I had a giant 8-story stationery shop saved. But I already recorded a separate unpacking with all the souvenirs and purchases from Japan, so you will see shopping updates in a separate video. When I was flying to Japan, the open question for me was, will I understand what's going on with the language that I can't even read? It's not Italian or Greek where I can guess meaning of some words and kind of navigate in any situation. Here, I just can't read. And in most of the places, people didn't speak English. On the Japanese side, I knew 3 words: hello, thank you, and sorry. Which I think is quite a strong vocabulary that can get you through most of the situations. But the navigation in transport and the main touristy or infrastructure places was written in Latin alphabet. And shop assistants were really, really helpful and so nice and so polite. It was the best customer experience in my life. Some other strong stereotype I had in my head is that Tokyo is a land of some crazy, obnoxious shopping, very weird beauty items, gadgets, something very futuristic or super weird, or everything with Hello Kitty. Walking around Ginza and popping into shop, I was like, am I missing something out? Where is the weird stuff? Why is it so usual, Western-like? Also in Ginza, I got a notebook for my stamp collection. I just briefly heard it from someone on the internet that you can collect stamps on train stations in Tokyo and Japan. I was like, yes, that's the thing I'm willing to collect. You only need a notebook, and I got this one, which did the job for most of the stamp, but wasn't good enough for bigger ones. And also, I really don't recommend getting the one with rings, because some machines really need a flat surface. Here, it just nothing happened. So I really recommend getting a notebook like this. This one is from Muji. It's super convenient. It fits even bigger stamps, still small enough for my bag, which is a big bonus. Typically, the stamps are available at train stations, at some underground lines, but not all of them. Also, major places to visit, some temples, some museums. Often in museums, you need to ask at the ticket desk. I will attach a Google map with hundreds of accurate stamp points where you can find them. Be prepared for some hunt, because, for example, on Tokyo JR stations, there is a stamp, but you need to find the right exit. There are numerous guides on the internet which exact exit, door, side, where to turn. Sometimes we had time and energy to do this. Sometimes I will just go with the flow and I'm like, okay, if I see a stamp, I will stamp it. If I don't, I'll just continue with my day. That's fine. I was quite surprised that local Japanese people are also all over the stamp collections. By the end of the trip, I fully stamped this notebook with 40 sheets and got maybe 10 more stamps in this notebook. Another experience I had saved, probably from some line of TikToks, Instagrams, was a sushi conveyor belt. Luckily for this one, we prepared a bit. People recommend coming there like 2 hours before you actually want to eat to get your digital queue number. That's exactly what we did, and the wait time was 1.5 hours. In the meantime, we went to some other shops, but it would be so depressing to queue there with no other plans. And even though the conveyor belt was quite fun, sushi were like okay. It's a bit hard to recommend. It's not a bad place, but as always with things that get on TikTok, it's just overhyped. And to finish off that day in Ginza, we went closer to Imperial Park. I wouldn't say that we went to the Imperial Park. It was second day of more than 20,000 steps, so my feet were like after a grinder. I didn't want to walk more, but I also kind of wanted to catch the park. So it was this weird in between. We got inside of the park, but didn't actually enjoy the park itself. It was also getting late, and we had some evening plans in our hotel area, so let's move there. So the third town, Minato-ku, probably my favorite town in Tokyo. We stayed in 2 different hotels, and the first one was in Roppongi district. Roppongi gave this cool girl, fancy, newy district vibes. Very nice malls, bookshops, luxury clothes used on the Tokyo Tower, but still mixed in with normal life of people going to work, having breakfast in just some casual places. So it is easy to recommend this area for the hotel location. Very good connections with main popular areas. Super safe and clean. I can say this about the rest of the Tokyo and Japan. The most pristine country I've ever been to, maybe after Belarus.
Беларусь. Страна для жизни.
So, coming back to Roppongi, there were a few places of interest. First, we visited Sake Festival there. It was more on the fancy, expensive side, especially the food. Try different sake just to understand that I don't like sake. The sparkling one was not too bad. Yeah. The other thing was our first museum there, the National Art Center. Very beautiful building. Such an interesting architecture, a mix of a spaceship and some contemporary art museum. From the name National Art Center, I assumed there are going to be a lot of traditional Japanese art, but that wasn't the case. The building itself is weirdly more like a rental spot for art exhibitions, rented for they're not exactly interconnected between each other. I think there were around 3 or 4 exhibitions. Each had their own tickets, and again, no overlapping theme or curation. We had energy to properly visit one exhibition, which was quite big and saturated with art. So many paintings from more contemporary artists. I definitely had some sensual overload from so many topics, colors, and unclear structure. Why are these paintings put together in one room? So that was fun, but confusing. I feel like I'm saying this about every experience I go to. Another one that we briefly visited was a calligraphy exhibition. Amazingly beautiful, and many pieces had some awards. Yeah, I understand why. So all in all, it was a nice museum, but if you're looking for something like super traditional, probably that's not the place, or you need to check what exhibitions are in. Maybe you'll find what you like. And my last highlight of Roppongi area is this insane shop. Dreams and expectations are coming true, and I found my obnoxious experience. So Don Quixote is actually a chain. You can find them in different areas, but in Roppongi it was both giant and had very good supply and wasn't too crowded. There were 7 floors of these weird and not beauty tools, Japanese edition snacks, all possible kinds of souvenirs and Japanese memorabilia, even some Louis Vuitton vintage shopping, tech gadgets, some suitcases, adapters. It was partially tourist scam. Maybe, no, tourist trap, because prices were completely fine, but it's more of an experience shopping. I doubt that you come there for good quality items for your life. It's more to have proper fun, to see Japanese marketing. For any beauty product, they will have this plastic, fantastic, super photoshopped skin. It was very fun to explore as a foreigner, but I'm not sure I would like to live in a country with this body image and representation. Being totally aware that European world also has its own beauty standards, but this is just next level of skin tightness, perfection, amazing glow, no wrinkles, no skin texture, no pores, no pimples, God forbid. And it was also the place to get the snacks I was dreaming at the age of 12.
What is that?
Continuing the theme of tourist traps, let's move to Tokyo Tower and teamLab in Minato-ku. I find it quite ridiculous that Tokyo decided to copy-paste Eiffel Tower, but sure. The tower was definitely a highlight of the city's landscape. I had my fun looking for the best angles and view spots, just like in Paris. And on our way to the museum, we came across a quiet shrine. It was so perfectly weaved in the skyscrapers on the back. But the main reason to go to the area was teamLab, the most marketed experience ever on any social media, and I have my thoughts. I can definitely recommend teamLab if you love modern digital art, projections, installations, play with light. For me, quite frankly, I was disappointed. We went to teamLab borderless, and roughly 80% of the experience are projections on walls, flowers, fish, animals, and I just couldn't care less. It's not touching me, it's not inspiring anything for me. I just don't like digital art in this form. The rooms that I enjoyed the most were the 3D experience rooms, where something was moving, something was happening, beautiful lights or balls. So there was some spatial design you can interact with and you can walk around. That's where I had some engagement with the art. I would definitely feel that I missed out on something if I didn't go to teamLab, but I just think it's not a must-have for everybody, and not everybody would love it and should run there.
Oh, there is a card.
Next town, Shibuya. I think from this quite popular name you could have guessed that that iconic Shibuya Crossing is exactly in this town. And again, I think I had major disappointments with places where I had any expectations built by social media. In my mind, this crossing was much bigger and busier than it was in real life. Of course, a crossing has a function and how big a crossing can be, but all these distorted lenses and multiple videos created quite unrealistic expectations in my head. It was honestly so underwhelming. I crossed it one side and I was like, okay, no, I feel like it's somebody's shooting background. I'm fine. I can just go. And a similar thing happened with Hachiko statue, this super famous dog from the movie. At least in my home country, this was such an iconic movie. I remember seeing it on TV so many times. Me and my mom were just crying on our couch. So the dog statue was deep in my mind and I really wanted to see it. But oh my god, there was just a ginormous queue of people who wanted to take a picture with the dog. Oh my god, just let the dog be. That's fine. If why do you need a picture with the statue? People were just jumping from all different places, trying to fight for a picture with the dog. Everybody wanted to hold tight on this on this pose. I'm really fine. I can Photoshop myself to this statue if I really want this picture. Yeah. And up next, we're moving to Aoyama, where geography gets a bit blurry. Part of the places I visited are still in Shibuya-ku, but some are in Minato-ku. But we're all here for the vibes and entertainment, not for geography or history class. So let's have Aoyama in this group. Aoyama is actually a shopping street, not even a district, but it was just so cool and nice. I really didn't get enough of this place and came there twice. I can't even explain what worked for me, but something did. You find in some comparison in London, it's a nice mix of Shoreditch shopping streets and Bond Street for more luxury items. Very stylish and fashionable Japanese people and obviously foreigners. I was also really curious to pop in the famous luxury vintage shops in Tokyo. They had numerous brands like Chanel, Hermes, and this way I learned that high-end brands don't mean much to me. I maybe liked one bag, but nothing really grabbed my attention, especially for this price. There is a reason for this, but I have faith and I'm not disturbed. Wait for the time to come, be honest, and act well. Vinegar? Relocation? Okay. Childbirth? Don't touch me! Marriage offer? Listen carefully to what the other person has to say. The jewel of Aoyama for me was the Gentle Monster shop. I also looked it up and it was open maybe a month ago in that location. They have these crazy art installations, and especially the one with moving faces. Just, oh my god. It's so well made. the craft behind this thing is just insane to me. The people who produced it are geniuses, and I loved it so much more than teamLab. But I guess marketing directors of Gentle Monster are even more genius, because I'm coming to the shop for the art and I'm staying for the glasses. Really love this fun selection. They're also not super insanely expensive. With this level of merchandising, art installations, interior design, the glasses must be a luxury, like a few thousand of pounds, but they're not. They're quite affordable. They're not cheap, but it's a good middle segment of glasses, and my math is not mathing how they're affording this level of shops. And just 5 minutes away from the Aoyama shopping street, we went to Nezu Museum. I don't have a lot of footage from the museum itself because they don't allow any photography, but it was just a perfect, nice, compact museum with Japanese art. This is just second and last museum we visited in Tokyo, if we don't count Gentle Monster. This time I wasn't in a particularly art museum mood because the city itself was so saturated with new culture for me. So Nezu perfectly hit this spot of some museum experience, but not overwhelming 3 hours walking in the galleries with very intellectual face. Also, museum has the most beautiful garden, and it is quite big. We were a bit too early for the irises to blossom. I only saw one, but it was wisteria season and we found one in the gardens. They also host small tea ceremonies, and at first the waiting time was closer to 1 hour, but we walked around in the gardens more and came back for almost no queue. And another district I explored in Shibuya was Ebisu. That's where we had our second hotel. You might ask why we needed 2 hotels for just 1 week in Tokyo, but I had a pretty fat discount from my work for the second hotel, only for 4 nights. We had amazing city view, service, everything was so great. The local area of Ebisu was also really nice. On one evening I went for a photo walk in a small neighborhood where people live in their own houses. It was dinner time, so I could hear the pots boiling and cutlery moving around. Also the smells of pork and chicken coming out of windows. That was a very lovely evening. But the transport connection wasn't the best. To get to most places we needed a transfer, which is not super convenient. A love letter to Japanese transport. Even though we have very good connectivity in London, it's quite often dirty, full of rubbish, super noisy. People are calling their friends and relatives to all countries in the world. Nobody's using headphones, so you hear both sides of the conversation. So when I was in Japan, where it's completely quiet, trains, buses, people just shut up mind their own business, use headphones, and I love that they reiterate that there are many signs that say please don't use your phone.
Please set your mobile phone to silent mode and refrain from talking on the phone.
Thank you very much, Japanese people. So, to sum up again in 2 sentences, Minato-ku and Shibuya-ku, highly recommended. I'm sure there is no way you can skip them because they are one of the most central and popular areas in Tokyo. My must-haves are Aoyama for shopping and Nezu Museum for, as they say, Zen garden and Japanese art experience. And the last 3 towns on my Tokyo list are a bit less connected and more random, but we can't skip them. I know that Japan is a dream for many people for different reasons, but I was the OG otaku, okay? I grew up reading manga, watching anime, and this obsession with Japan is with me from the age of 12. So even though I'm not watching anime anymore, I just couldn't skip the golden anime spots for this 12-year-old version of Liz. I had to fill this void in my heart. And in my search for anime shops, I decided to be not obvious and more authentic. So I skipped the most famous Akihabara shops at first and decided to go to Nakano Broadway. Nakano-ku! Which is kind of shopping mall for all things anime. Manga shops, anime figures, robotics, video games, arcades, basically anything you can imagine. Anything. So the Broadway itself is opening at 10 and I was there at 10:30 only to find that majority of shops are opening at 12. That would be kind of fine in different circumstances, but it was raining, so not so pleasant to walk around. And secondly, we had a lunch booked at 1 p.m. So I kind of found a middle ground here. I waited till 11 when some shops were open. I popped into a few, but honestly, 90% was still closed. I was so sad I didn't get this full-on anime experience, but well, I had to return to the hotel. But I still had like 30-40 minutes to explore something else, and luckily my transfer went to Shinjuku, one, if not the busiest station and areas in Tokyo. Shinjuku station has more than 100 exits, and I decided to just go with the flow and pick any random one and just see how it goes, and my exit was actually amazing. I came to this modern skyscrapers area, amazing views even in rain, or especially in the rain, because the clouds were hiding the tops of the very tall buildings and it looked so cinematic. And found a very nice park nearby with beautiful sculptures and waterfalls and ponds. And in one of them there were so many turtles. And last, and probably the most bright and loud area I visited in Tokyo, Akihabara. I feel like most pictures and videos of Tokyo you're gonna see is gonna be Shibuya Crossing and Akihabara buildings. These crazy signs, arcades in every corner, games, shops, tech, some questionable services around you. Don Quixote, you can also find it here.
Sasha! Sasha, that's for Sasha. I need to get it. Oh, that's it? Wait. What is this game?
Of course, I still wanted my anime shopping experience. Who am I to take this away from myself? If it didn't work out with Nakano Broadway, okay, I'll go to these famous basic Akihabara shops. Walking through the lines of anime figures, trying to find any characters I know, and I probably found only Naruto. Also searching for a gift for my dear friend, who is a big anime lover now. It was a bit busy because it's the most popular area for that, but can't complain. Another place to be in Akihabara is Yodobashi Camera. Ginormous 8 floors electronic shop for any possible digital or technical need.
Wow. And you can also put your hand here.
We went there just for the fun of it, just to see what can this shop have.
Yeah, I was like, candy, film? Sony doesn't produce films? Wow. Discs. For vlogging?
But as soon as I reached the camera floor, oh my, something happened. Yeah, I just bought a vlog camera. Totally unplanned, not on my list of expected purchases. But when I came there, I saw Sony. I thought, oh, it's Japanese, so it's kind of Japanese souvenir. And I kind of wanted it for the last half a year or so. And I also published 2 vlogs recently, so I kind of deserve this camera. I had some struggles for maybe 10 minutes. It is still quite an expensive purchase to be impulsive, but screw that. I am now recording on this camera. And we're done. These were all 7 Tokyo towns I explored in my first week. Honestly, I'm already dreaming about coming back there, but it was time to move forward in my Japanese trip. Up next, hot spring cities, waterfalls, temples, Kyoto, Osaka, Naoshima Islands, all the way down to Hiroshima. So stay tuned. Let me know in the comments what's your dream spot to visit in Tokyo. And I see you very soon. Bye! Ой, блядь, у меня еще видос на записи.